That makes sense to me. Can I click? Ah. So did we go back? We missed one.
So I just wanted to kind of go through like how I saw the timeline of events and just catch you up because some of the stuff happened, I think, kind of not out in the public as much. So I want to communicate to members and make sure I'm just doing a good job of doing that. Obviously, we passed resolutions to like cease operations. We had significant financial concerns on February 4th. There was this membership meeting. And during that meeting, I think Luana and Serena had a kind of a rough plan to do a corporate thing. But the board at the time too said that they would be open to pivot and possibly restart. And with that, between that time and then the special meeting that we had on March 8th, I just went around with people that I knew the business and talked about stuff and developed a plan. And that's what I presented on March 8th. And on March 8th, then we set into motion, I think it ended up after that meeting that Serena and Luana decided that they were going to pull that corporate plan. And I know throughout the whole planning process of my presentation, there's a couple times where they tried to reach out and talk to us. And I just basically said, I want to have an idea of a co-op. I don't want to talk anything about corporate. And so in my mind, I just kept those two separate. So I didn't know what they were going to do on that day. That they showed up and did do it. So then it just became my plan, the sustaining a co-op plan versus the idea of what it would take to like liquidate the building and assets. And in the vote, there's about 100 people who voted, and we had somewhere about 60% of that vote. So I'm grateful for that. At that time, that vote came in on March 18th, and we had 6 of the 7 board members resign on that. And I'll talk about what that did to some of the plans that I had. When I created this back between February 11th and March 8th, I wasn't thinking that there would be such a changeover of the board. And so that had some impacts on it. So I'll kind of go through that. Here's our new board members, and a lot of these roles were voted on just on March 25th, which would have been like the next board meeting. And we kind of were appointed on the 18th, but we were like, we need to set roles and see who we can have working with us on the plan that we kind of put forward. We have Jessica as the one sustaining board member, and she's doing a lot. Events coordinator, right? Job her out. And then also, you know, she's volunteering as the co-CEO. She's kind of the point person right now, especially. Serena, who is member number 1, actually, as soon as like our plan was there, kind of reached out with us and our action committee of people that we were doing very informally, and started coordinating with us, which is really awesome to have her historical knowledge and passion. And she became our chair. There's me. I'm a math kid. I have a degree in general studies with an emphasis of mathematics. And then I have a bachelor's in speech communication, which is why I'm so verbose. But I'm learning the financial capabilities. And in that, I worked with Kyle over the last 2 weeks to really we want to make sure our taxes are done. We want to make sure all the processes that we have in place and the reporting we have in place are there. And so we have a transitional plan in place during these months to make sure that we're not missing anything, we're paying our bills, we can actually do things, you know, with a certain level of fidelity. And so that's what I'm in the process of doing. I am not fully on the bank account yet. I'm going to do that next Friday when I have a day off. I basically went from visiting my sick dad in Arizona to doing all this. And I worked a whole week and put this together. And so I'm hoping to get there April 11th so then I can take over and really talk to the bank and have that ability. Right now, we do a lot of our payments through a printer and a card stock that Kyle has. So I'll be working with him over the next couple months to put in a different process and take more and more off his plates, but I'm overseeing all the finance. Next, we have behind the bar as well, right now, Ryan. Ryan is graciously doing one of the jobs I least like doing, which is like note taking. He does an excellent job on that. Kudos, one more hat he wears here. He does so much. Ryan is our events coordinator, which is a huge, or a volunteer coordinator. Jessica's events. Volunteer coordinator, which is huge because our proposal was we're going to staff with volunteers. And so that means that we need somebody organizing that and helping us train and keeping a certain quality that we expect here at Blue Note. Also, he is our sustaining membership recognition team. And that actually, just a shout out real quick, is going to meet next Sunday. It'll be a meeting that is here next Sunday. It will have a virtual component, but that's like, get involved, be a part of that team, because that's a very important team. So I just kind of want to break down my basic asks. If we're going to be successful, the pathway forward is not simple, but it is simple in a way. You can break it down. You know, bring customers, yourself, your friends. Come when we're open. I know we're Sundays in April. We're going to be ramping up to, of course, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that was in our proposal. You know, participate like you're doing. Be here for membership meetings. You know, get involved. And then the next thing is like, we're going to be doing a lot of things. We're going to ask people to train and to volunteer, take shifts, to, you know, have good ideas, work with other members and bring stuff to the board to approve or call for a vote on, and do some changes and be very hands-on and democratic. And then the last thing is too, is like, we know the financial concerns are there. And until we get a really good footing, is we're going to ask for donations as well. We'll be specific and targeted on those, but like, if you can spare money, please do. Or if you can't spare money, but you like beer, please drink here more. You know, those type of things are really going to help us in our bottom line. This is our Sunday schedule for April. I just kind of want to break it out there. Obviously, you're here today. That is April 6th. All this slide will be on our website eventually, and all those underlined are Zoom links. Everything is virtual as well as in person. Of course, we want you here to buy beer, but we know people have busy lives, and some of the meetings might be helpful to have people's knowledge that might not be accessible to us normally here to help share the load. And so next week, like I said, is going to be the sustaining membership recognition, where we're going to have a process to, you know, understand who's donating hours, understand who's donating funds, and really uphold our membership for what they're doing. Thank you. The 20th, we are open. I know it is a holiday. I will be here from noon to 6. It's also virtual if you need a break from family or stressors of that day. This is kind of our what's next. What's the next thing after the 3-month period that was in our plan? How do we go forward with Blue Nose in those dips and lulls that we know hurt us financially, that we know we might not be as capable? And that's going to be read by Serena. She's got a lot of good ideas, and we want to get member feedback and member participation to actually say, what should be the next plan? We're inviting you into that. And that discussion will be at 2 p.m. And again, it will also be virtual on Zoom. April 27th, we have a couple meetings. We have the marketing and outreach meeting, which Jessica will lead. And that's going to be, you know, like, what do we need to do to let people know what's going on at Blue Nose? What do we need to do to, you know, like, actually get the word out to the larger community that's maybe not members, and try to drive a little bit more traffic in here. And we'll have a board meeting to follow that. We're hoping that really the board meetings, what we're doing is approving finances, moving forward, doing votes, and make them really quick 45-minute meetings. If we feel like there's a larger issue then that's going to take over an hour, we want to do a different meeting at a different time where discussion can really be brought forth and feedback can be drawn. But like, I feel like board stuff should be very administrative and like, this is the legalese, this is the stuff. And so that's what we're going for. I don't know how successful we will be in our first one. Obviously, we're transitioning, but that is our goal. And those will be here We're going to try to hold it here. If it's too noisy or we find the conditions aren't there, there still will be an online version and we'll have to pivot there. But our goal is to do it right here, just talking around and doing it. So just to have all the processes that we have, very much you can see what it takes to do this, the time that people put in. So what do we want? Well, we want some Sunday members, especially in April, where this is our only way to make money. This is our only sales time. And so I am grateful for all the people that are physically here. That's awesome. I'm also grateful for people that have tuned in virtually. I do appreciate that as well. I said this before, I'll say it again. We need bartenders. That's going to be one of the things so that the 4 board members we have are staffing the place right now. And we don't want burnout on top of the administrative, so we're going to need people. We ask you to contact Ryan on this slideshow. If you click that, it's a form to fill out. We have a physical copy here, but we also have a Google form, which you just fill out your information and your contact information. If you know your member number, you can put that in there. And just so that Ryan can kind of collect names of people and reach out and give them opportunities to come in and learn like what we expect, what we want, you know, the guidelines of our employee handbook and all that. So please volunteer. So I said there was changes. We're doing the best we can with the transition. I highlighted them here. This is a slide I had in my sustaining a co-op presentation, and I kind of doctored it to kind of highlight some different things that have changed just because of circumstances. Obviously, I already said that Jessica's kind of our point person, especially for this month, to make sure that the COO duties are being done. We were really hopeful that we could try to open again mid-April and have the 3 nights. But when we looked at the 4 people that are on the board, doing all the administrative stuff we're doing, and then trying to staff it and not get burnt out, we realized, well, maybe we need to reassess and in May and keep this time open so we can ask for volunteers to come forward, ask for people to participate with us. And, you know, many hands makes the load so much lighter. And so that's my hope with that. I want to address the box to the right, the golden box there, our Meet a Member initiative. We're going to start doing that a little bit here in April. I think it's next week that we're going to have somebody. But members are going to come in. We're going to share that they're coming in there, speak about something they're passionate about or doing, and just, you know, really uplifting our members as individuals and bringing out like a social context. Like maybe, you know, volunteering for a lot of stuff isn't your bag, but, you know, you like to come out and support Blue Nose. Well, we're going to try to do interesting things and bring in members and connect people to other people that they might not know. And we had it set for like 1 p.m. solid. But as soon as we started like reaching out to people, it's like people have different lives, different schedules. So we're going to be a little bit flexible of when they come in on Sunday. And we'll just kind of have that hopefully in the gossip column that Serena sent out through the email or different ways on our website, just to let you know who things that are going on. So basic food stuff that we had, well, we did a price check and Haggis, for whatever reason, between us doing it and the next month, the price was a lot more. And so we kind of just did the best price that we could kind of get for good pizzas. And so that's that difference there. We just adjusted with realities. And then I put band and events, where our events are just basically our member meetings and that cooperative right now in April. But Jessica already, if you go on our website, she's lined up some really cool acts and stuff starting in May. We're going to hit it Friday, May 2nd at 4 p.m. really hard. So that's there. I talked about communicating a monthly budget. I'll have that on a later slide. And then QuickBook trainings, we sent out, and I need to follow up this week to do that. That's part of the reason I wanted to have a good transition plan with Kyle, our former financial officer, and work through that, is just to make sure I have time to get the QuickBooks training. And I'm learning a lot just on the fly and going into QuickBooks now. I'm a pretty good guy on tech, but I'd like that, just that higher standard. If I'm going to be your financial officer for the next while and move us forward, I just want to make sure there's a good fidelity of what we're doing. The co-op, we're continuing with audits because we're not closing. We can continue with the audit committees pacing that they already have, which is they're doing the last 2 years. And we're really looking for somebody to serve on the board and become like the liaison and attend the meetings for the audit committee and help us lead forward to what's the next years that we need to look at. One of the reasons I don't necessarily want to be the lead on that is because I'm the financial officer now, and I'm hoping we have a process which starts looking at my stuff when we're done this year in 2025, that it's not my thinking financially that's there, that we have that true independence. And we can have confidence in how we're spending money and how we're doing things. I just want to reiterate too, again, reopening means like we really should be supporting and grateful for the audit committee. Right now, this is volunteers, this is other members, this is other community members helping us out. And it's not fun work, it takes time. And as long as we're all working hard to keep Blue Nose open and we sustain open, that is like the ability to actually do the stuff. The timeline I have on there is not necessarily anything on the audit committee. It's just like our timeline of where we are and my hopes, right? I hope that we're doing our second month of this 3-month plan in June. And I hope we have our final one in July and a new plan leading forward. And I hope we're sustaining in October and figuring out what we're doing. And as long as we're doing that and doing that forward, we don't have to complete the whole audit all at once. The stuff that Darwin had in his petition and what I was part of my plan then when I saw it, I was like, we should make this part, is if we close, we need to do a full audit. So if we have to close, that's what triggers that full audit instantaneously. But if we stay open, it does make sense that we should have members doing it and doing it in a consistent cycle. And so hopefully we can get there. And that's my hope, is that we can get a few people to step up and be a part of the audit committee. I think we had a resignation or so of that. And so we need some people to help again. And we'll be asking for that. If you're interested, please sign up. We have sign up forms here, and we'll drop some in the chat as well. Budgets, I want to break down budgets in a sense of like really identifiable things. We will have our full balance sheet that we normally have at these meetings. I'll bring it up at the end of the presentation, but I really want something like, what are we doing in real time? And this is a little bit more simplistic than I wanted. I ran out of some time, but this is our basic operational budget that we did. We said, we're gonna pay $350 for beer, we're gonna have $150 in food, and then we're gonna spend $70 in wine. And everything else is like, merchandise and other products we had on hand. We didn't buy anything new. And then these projected sales are actually great. Serena came in with because she was gonna do a corporate plan, she had a whole bunch of projections and stuff. And when we said we're just going down to Sunday, we said, okay, how do we skim that back because it's not the full 3 days? And we did a good job of doing that, I think. But the reason I want to have this slide is very much like my last slide from my last presentation where I brought it forward and said, this is what changed. On these budget slides, what I want to show you in real time is like, okay, here's what we thought. A budget is what you think and what you're trying to plan for, but then you have actuals. So I'm hoping that at the next member meeting in May, I'll have actuals of this, and then we'll have maybe a little bit more detailed budget, but still simple enough where if we have a problem, it's easy for all the membership to see instantaneously. Or we adjust our buying patterns because we're like, oh, we're losing money here. Or how can we change that? And we can start having those type of discussions, hopefully on Sunday. But I want to make stuff user-friendly so that the majority of people can just casually talk about it. But I will also continue the fidelity of the reports we've had, which give a higher level for those people who really want to go in the financials and look at stuff and have questions. I still will have those available and we'll have them on the website. And if anybody wants to ask me more questions on that, one-on-one or anything, I'm very willing to do that. So, but I just think we need something simple so we can talk about it and be like, I think it's this. Okay, is it that? And then we can dive deeper into it. So the asks for money, right? Fundraising goal. So what I did is one of the reasons we were considering and ceasing operations is we have huge expenses that are coming up. okay? These are things that we need for Blue Nose to operate. And so I just broke out a few very specific things, because if I'm gonna ask for money, I wanna show that I use that money towards that specific thing and then be able to show that. So this month, we have our liability insurance. So that is actually broken up. We pay a monthly rate on it, but every year when we re-up, we have to pay down a significant amount. And that's about $1,200. It's a significant amount, and I think it's, if I'm right, if the current policy that we're looking at has been marked up 22% from last year. So instead of about $150 per month, we'll pay $200 per month. And so if we want to be sustainable and do this, we have to kind of raise that money. And that's what we're looking to go for. The next one is more in May and June. I think, I'm not sure what the date is specifically. The city of Granite Falls makes us get a liquor license. And that's typically about $1,200. And so we need to have that to operate and have tap beers. And to have, you know, all the different drinks we have. So that's kind of why I put that on. And then third and finally, if you look right now, behind Ryan, we have 3 beers on tap. And I'd like to get to at least, you know, 7 of the 12 beers on tap, hopefully before May. And I estimate that around $1,200. And so if I do that, and each one's about $1,200, our goal should be $36,000 to fund it. Oh, sorry, 3,600, sorry. I misspoke. 3,600, no. Let me, mic check. But, you know, if we have like 300 to 400 members, if it's $10 or $20, or if you can't donate anything, you just come out and drink beer more, you know, it helps, all that helps. But I like having a goal for this, just because it's sets us to alleviate and hopefully have funds to move forward. One of the things I'd like to do in my long term is that liquor liability, why we pay a monthly thing, is because we're borrowing money from the insurance company at a rate of 30%. If we could pay $3,000 this month, like $3,034, like $3,400, let me make sure I say the right number, $3,400, we wouldn't have that monthly $200 charge. So I'm just trying to figure out ways we can get ahead and then sustain. And so these are the things I kind of identified as big issues and things that will drag us down. So what now? Come out and get some beer. You know, we have Sundays in April, and then our reopening is May 2nd. We're going to try to do some marketing around that, try to get that out, spread it through word of mouth. And with that, I'll open up to any questions that people have.
Board members, you said you were appointed by whom?
So the question I got was on the board members and the process of appointing. So under our bylaws, the board itself is able to appoint new members when others resign. And the process we did was a very peaceful process, a very thoughtful process. And it was, as one of the 6 board members that will resigned, then they appointed one of us. And they were either 6-month terms, or I think it was a year and 6 months. Is that right? Something like that. And so because I was planning to possibly be the financial officer, I took a year and 6 months so we could have fidelity in that process. And so if I had to train in somebody after my cycle, I could do that in some way. Jessica, do you remember what yours is, or anybody else? I don't have those numbers on top of my head. Yeah. I'm going to hand this over to Jessica to explain that.
I'm the meetings person. Okay. Well, okay, now you can hear me. Yes. So when somebody resigns, that person is then appointed for the remainder of their term, is what he's saying. And then, of course, when election time comes up for that seat, then that goes up for election again, and that person can choose to run for that seat that time or not. things that I wanted to add to. Once I get my voice. Is we are trying to make some more physical changes in here to make it a little more comfortable. Because one of the things we have heard a lot of feedback about is that it's not very inviting to people. So we are putting out like some lists of maybe you have this around your house. That you know. One of the ideas is to put in like vintage ones that come so you can come in and sit in like a cozy chair back. So you can come in and sit in a cozy chair back there and play like Super Mario Brothers on an old Nintendo or something that just keep people here longer. We've been really careful about planning events for May because we don't want to go through the budget just planning a bunch of events. We also know that, you know, right now we can't restock the entire kitchen with everything, so all we have is food. So what we've been doing is lining up a food truck to partner with every event that is planned. Because then we're also getting marketing from that, because those food trucks are then marketing to their following that they're getting. Yes.
Is there any way, and I know it's an electricity problem, but put a food truck in the front of the building or encourage those that come to do that because they automatically go where the electricity is back there and then they're not seeing it.
Yes, that's the discussion I've been having with all of them. Like, it doesn't make. Oh, sorry. Yes, so she was asking about having food trucks up front instead of in back because although they have electricity in back, they're not very visible. When they're up front, they're more visible, so they get more business from people driving through, which I've been explaining to all of them. That is on the city council agenda that asks to block off those parking spots for all those gates, as well as put the stuff out back again. I know we do have one food truck that will be in back for sure. When we have at the end of the month, we'll have Rolling Hills Pizza coming in. It's over Labor Day weekend. So, but we're not putting it in that night. We're gonna have a beanbag tournament out there and outdoor seating, the pizza out there. So everything's back there anyway. And then we are working on fixing up the broken big sign put on the corner to direct people there. But so those things aside, we also have a lot of pieces of paper up here with a lot of writing. But if you take the time to look, there's kind of just a little bit of talking about things that maybe go a little further into the future. And obviously Serena is going to talk a lot more about that because we know like this, it's not sustainable. Well, that's what the discussions with her happen. And there's a number of things that can come into play for that, but to start being involved in some of those things, if anybody's interested in like any of these ideas up here sound appealing to you at all, like maybe you just want to hear about it, or maybe you actually want to be involved in it, or maybe you have some ideas for it, please just stick your name somewhere in there. There's a lot of different things. I also want to give a shout out to, he mentioned the need a member thing. The first one we're going to have is going to be November 13th or November.
Okay.
We are all speaking well today. April 13th. So I invited Nicole Sample to come in. She's going to come in and talk actually about the garbage cleanup she's been doing around town. I know you've already seen that probably. And then we're actually going to lead the cleanup of the riverbank back here, which is a lot of time. And that's kind of what we're looking to do more with the meeting member thing, is just like doing things that bring community members together and also find ways to, for Blue Nose to give back to the community outside of just being a space where people gather. So that'll be our first one. And we have gloves. So if you want to come around, you don't have to touch anything gross, we have gloves. Okay, that's all I have.
So that's the presentation. We will try to get this up by next Sunday onto the website. That's going to be our goal, is whenever we present something or have it, is to try to get it up the next week. We might get it up sooner if we have free time, but we're going to use like being here on a Sunday as a committee thing or a member volunteer Sunday to use that time to do some of that legwork. And so we'll be here, we'll be visible, and you can come talk to us. Let me bring up the balance sheet because I had this problem. Yes. We definitely are. Bring your friends, please. Yeah, and I got a lot of advice from my customer. He was walking by at about 11:30 and I unlocked the door for him and told him we open at noon and I was finishing up like little things on stuff here. So, yeah, like a whole 4 people. Yeah. Can you still see that? Is that too small for that? Oh,
It's, wait, it hasn't come over yet. Give me a second. Yeah, but it's because of the way I gotta share it.
Well, there. And I'll have this available too. I did this through April 2nd because that is the last time I met with Kyle. And so I just wanted to do it because, there's more stuff that's coming in and stuff, but we're gonna try to do it like until I'm doing it all on my own, and then I'll probably do it the day before, but I want to do it with the former and the transition, just to make sure we're getting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. And I think the chat too has the capability, they have the links and stuff.
We actually have. We have enough cash to pay our insurance, but then it makes May very slim. They had $2,500 in reserves to close. So what we're tapping into now means if we close, we are at a real risk. And so we need to drive to stay open. So they had set aside funds to have enough funds to close. And that is the risk with pivoting, is we are tap those funds. There is Blue Nose Presents, that used to be called something else on there. I changed that. So the reserves we have is typically,
Let me look at this, is event savings is what
they had it in reserves. Because Blue Nose Presents now with the Yes House and the Department of Transformation, did I say that right? I hope I did. I always have to double check. They donated that, and there's certain criteria that we have to meet to use those funds. And typically that's when we're having bands and stuff like that, is we're using that for those events. Some of the people that we're bringing in May, I think too, might be donating some of their music and stuff. So we don't have to tap so much into those. One of the things that's coming up in August is Squid Fest, which I know Ryan and I are a part of. And we might want to do something here to draw people in, because there's a kid section out in Memorial Park, but then we're gonna have an adult section in the evenings. So we want to try to do something, hopefully Blue Nose, and create synergy between Squid Fest and Blue Nose, as we have a giant squid here. I can scroll down a little bit if people want to look more. Again, this will be up on our website by the 13th, the day 13th, and maybe sooner. We'll see. And then I usually prepare, like Kyle did, his practice was to prepare up to the board meeting. So we'll do that again. And I did that for the last board meeting when we were appointed, to just get that ready and have that. I literally did it right before the board meeting. I met with Kyle, figured it out, and had those reports ready to show the board. So at the end of the month, you can kind of see from most of April too, if you're interested, it'll be put up on the board meetings. Barbary walks in and gets thrown to the walls. I'll scroll down a little more. A lot of that stuff is consistent month to month. I know Serena sent a letter and she signed it and I signed it. So we have the deferment on the building loans. We're in the process of doing that, so we won't have to pay that for those 3 months. I think it goes to July, isn't that right? To July. So we're trying to do our best to mitigate costs so we can hopefully raise enough funds and get moving and then have enough time for members to kind of help us guide the way forward. And that, again, that meeting's on the 20th. I know it's a holiday, but it's virtual too. And there'll be another one, I'm sure, in May as well, just to do it. But if you're interested in that, please sign up. We have a whole bunch of sign-up sheets here. If you're online, there's Google Forms. And if you want to do it later, I'm sure we'll be emailing those out as well. And it just helps, like for bartending volunteers, it helps Ryan organize and contact people. And for just different committee works or what you might be interested in helping with, that's huge for us to organize and say, this is what we need to do first. There's a lot of things, and I think there always will be a lot of things that we could always do better. And so we kind of like, if you're willing to lead stuff, that helps because, you know, maybe you can lead an initiative with another group of members that we're only 4 board members and there used to be 7 and they were all working hard. I can tell you just from the stuff I've seen, they were all working hard. So if we can have people step up, if somebody's really interested in the board, talk to Jessica, talk to myself, talk to Ryan, let us know because we still have vacancies that we can appoint right now so that we can have people take over stuff. My goal is almost for any committee that we put forward or team we have operating, I'd like somebody from the board sitting in on those meetings and being a part of it.
Are the board meetings going to be open so that anybody can listen?
They're going to be here. They're going to be open in the sense like you can listen. Sometimes we haven't figured that the parameters, usually like city council meetings and stuff like that do like a period where there could be open to public 10-minute. You're a meeting person. You want to explain it?
Robert's Rules of Order,
Oh, there you
which Katie has a great story about. I don't know how they've gotten that. I don't know. But anyway, so Robert's Rules of Order are, yes, you can come and insert the meeting. If you have not requested to be on the agenda ahead of time, there is like a period at the beginning of the meeting where there is for anyone to come forth and bring up anything not on the agenda that they would like to address with the board. The board is not allowed under Robert's Rules of Order to take any action on those items. They would have to then discuss them and the action would have to occur at the next meeting. But some dude in a church apparently started it. So, yeah, but yes, they're gonna be, it's gonna be like, you could go to a school board meeting, go to a city council. Sit, watch, see what happens, watch it virtually, see what happens.
And then if there's the case where there's something.
Yes, then we would have to go into a closed session to discuss things like employee. And again, when closed sessions happen at meetings, then what happens is the board closes the meeting to discuss like the employee issue or whatever, but they can't actually take action during the closed meeting. So then they reopen the meeting, take the action, and it moves on.
And I'll say this, just as we're kind of doing virtual and we're doing in-house and stuff, we'll take feedback. We're really trying our best to figure out what's the best way to do these things because we haven't done it before, you know, in a multifaceted way. So be patient with us. We're not trying to ignore anybody on purpose, but that's kind of how we're operating. Did I see a question? Yes.
To volunteer for just specific things before. I would be happy to volunteer to do the initial sort of membership so that we know who's close in, that's within 50 miles, 125 miles balance of state and then out of state, so that we have definitive categories from where we can pull market specific things. So I'd be happy to start that and to at least initially look at it and identify the issues and then committee out some work. So I'm willing to do that. And the second thing I'm I'm willing to be the audit connection.
You want to serve on the board,
As the audit connection?
or do you want to be on the audit?
Sure. Did I just say yes to that?
Congratulations.
I do some managing, so sure, I'm willing.
Okay, we will discuss that and we can get forward.
Yeah.
And if people do have specific things like that, where you have something that maybe we're not already looking at, the stuff we're looking at is the stuff we have prioritized that we need to do to keep operating. But like membership stuff and clean up the list and having that type of stuff is very valuable. If that's your passion, please email information at bluenose.coop. Please do that. Please put it down verbally and stuff. I know Jessica took notes. She's really good. But we want to kind of, as not everybody can say it here at the meeting. But if you're thinking and next couple of days or something that you really have a passionate project that you want to do, we'll do that. But we also might go, that's part of this committee that we need going. So we might go, hey, can you join this committee and do that there? And so we can have a team of people doing stuff. Because while I believe it's really good to people work alone, like I finalize presentations all alone, but I have feedback from all 4 board members, and I work in a group. I couldn't do any of the stuff we've done to open today without my team, and it gets stressful to do heavy lifting. And I just want to be very cautious of this. I'm not asking anybody to do something that makes them feel unsafe or gets them concerned. And one of the ways that as community, we gain strength and where power really lies is when we connect and we work together. And so that's why we have these Sundays, is to create that space to work together. And the board will be very open to if there's initiatives that we haven't even started, but there's a group of people that think that are good. If you get a couple of people and you guys are willing to meet, we'll give you access to the Zoom meeting so you can get people from out of state to help them too, or just that can't make it that day because they're somewhere else, and to really harness the labor and the ideas and the power of our membership. So I want to say that. Well, and we'll figure that out. We don't have to figure that out now, but I do want to say, is there any members that just want to come up and speak or anything else? This is a membership meeting. I know on the board, we do a board presentation, kind of telling where you are, wanted to tell some of the stuff, but I want to open up and also we could do the virtual. If somebody wants to type something out, I'm able to read stuff for them. But if anybody wants to speak, I just kind of want to leave the microphone open. If not, I'll kind of just adjourn this meeting and tell people to have a beer. I'll be behind the bar. I'm gonna take off my nice coat and go behind the bar again. So please eat, have food, be merry, enjoy the space. We have it open. Oh, side note too, we are going to try, because Zoom does record meetings, and we'll try to put this all on our YouTube as well. But I haven't done that yet, and that's going to be a process. So forgive me if it doesn't quite happen, but we're going to try by next Sunday.